All right, we are live. What's going on, fellow traders? Let me get this tweeted out here. Oh, just lost it. 1 second. 1 second. There it is. Okay, so tweet. Hopefully I spelled that correctly. YouTube.com, see Bullhead Live. Looks good. Awesome. Whew. Well, I hope everybody had a great trading day today. It was quite a day, right? It was another day. So futures are up right now. Futures are green. Let's pull up the SPX so we take a look at the S&P cash. Let me just make sure everybody is okay here. Okay, good. Hey, what's up, Jay? Hello, hello. All right, let's get this pulled up. All right, so we are. Let's see where we're at. Okay, so again, let's take a look at the monthly chart on the SPX. So this is state of the market, right? So this is where we're at. Again, why do we look at the monthly chart, right? Because we like to look at what's going on big picture, right? So here's your big picture, right? Monthly chart, inside month, right? Breaks to the upside, spinning top month, hammer month, break to the upside, Marabozi month, almost a little wick at the top there. But anyway, so we have this, and then we have this pullback this month in May, right? So looks really good, hit all-time highs, and then really turned out that was pretty much some pretty big resistance right there. Bears stepped up, pushed it down, and then here we are. So drew this purple trend line here from the bottom, the December lows, Christmas reversal, all the way through January, right? And we just kind of drifted above that, and what do? We just test that trend line again. So it's really, really interesting. This will kind of tie into today's conversation a little bit today too. So that being said, let me hold on 1 second. 1 second, lost something here. Okay, there we go. All right, yeah. So that being said, we take a look at the weekly chart moving forward, right? So one of the big concerns, and this is one of the things, especially with newsletter subscribers, that we talk about in the weekly newsletter to stay on top of the markets, is we've been, of course, we talk about the videos here too. But we have had this big gap on the weeklies, right? That we were kind of tracking for some, short setups to get that filled, and we didn't get that, right? But we can see how there's a lot of compression here. Remember, these were like very, very narrow range days, these past couple weeks, and then we got a little bit of a push up, and then finally hit those all-time highs and came back. Then we got that tail fail off of that on the weekly, right? So a failed hammer to the downside, and that gave us that downward move that eventually filled that gap right there. So closed 2 weeks ago with a spinning top, last week with a green spinning top, right? And right now really kind of I guess ultimately narrow range on the week, as we're kind of holding, hugging the upward trend line that we looked at earlier, but also eyeing a potential reversal at the upside and also a test of the cloud to the bottom side. So we'll see how that follows. Friday we had this basically Southern Doji, kind of shooting star type pattern, right? That closed at the low end of the range of the prior day, right? And then, something that we talked about last week is that we could see follow through to the downside, and we did. And then look at that, we kind of gapped down. We tried to fill the gap at the open, and then came back in, right? Eventually came back in and closed like sort of in the middle of the range. But look where we're at. We're right at the cloud here, so that could be interesting for tomorrow. Don't forget, guys, we got Fed minutes coming up on Wednesday. I think Powell's spoke tonight somewhere, so that could have given the futures a little bit of a jolt. But here we could see, like we saw these couple days here, as a push back up through the cloud and giving us a maybe even a small little boom or explosive move to the upside. So we'll take a look at that. Newsletter subscribers, we do a private video for them, so we get into a little bit more of the floor pivot levels. We take a look at the levels that were traded intraday today. Some of the key areas. We'll just kind of highlight that real quickly. Let me just go through that here. Okay, so here are the levels today. One thing that kind of kept us a little bit kind of wary about the market is where we gapped to today. So today was the 20th. So let me pull that up. So where we gapped today, we gapped to the middle of nowhere, right? So when you gap to the middle of nowhere, then you have a big weak first candle here, kind of a hanging man candle right here, right? You have to expect a possible break to the downside, and that's what happened, right? So this is kind of floating around here in the middle of nowhere between your key levels, right? Which newsletter subscribers get every night. So here's your S1 and your S2 levels, which also is that weekly gap fill level 2, that 2836 level, right? So we kind of got that, and obviously, prices probably wants to test that. That was a pretty big magnet right there. So there's your break there, that 2839, and push the downside and test those levels. And then you finally got a bit of a reversal. Kind of a complex move, bit of a measured move, right? Side, up, sideways, up, and then just kind of chopped around here for the majority of the day until it finally got a pretty nice end of the day reversal here. So, but again, this is a tough reversal at the end of the day because there was no really key level right there in terms of volumetric support or a floor pivot level. Big picture, right? Let's just review this real quick. So big picture, we're looking at the this big channel that brought us through all of 2018. Right, so 2017 kind of came up, got a little volatile at the beginning of the year 2018, then finally worked its way up. This was kind of like its final push, right, to the upside, right? So this was an all-time high here, and then finally broke through here. Kind of people thought that was the resistance zone, right? And then it kind of came up here again, shook them out a little bit, went back down again, came up, double top, back down to the channel, right? So you can see this nice purple channel how it's worked its way up. What this did is it defined a new resistance zone. After this crazy move down, it came back up to this resistance zone, tagged a new all-time high, and then came back down again to test this mid pitchfork level. Now this pitchfork is sort of a macro pitchfork from a key pivot low to to a key pivot high and low there. So it gave us a little bit of reversal there. It came back up, looked like it was maybe going to try to get up into those resistance zone area, and then kind of came back in the past 2 days. So here we are. Futures are up, but they were up this last night, right? So and then it ended up opening down 20, right? So we'll see what it does today. If anything, it might want to retest this pitchfork median line. We might get another reversal for a stab, possibly back into this resistance zone. Maybe early June, something like that. So we'll see where we end up with that. So that's kind of an overall picture of the market. At this point, I kind of want to just go into and continue our discussion about Dow theory. Okay, so Dow theory is really interesting. It's not like Elliott wave theory, which kind of defines all waves and says that everything can be broken down into wave structures. This just kind of gives you a broad context of the market. And so let me get that pulled up real quick here. Okay, let me zoom out here. What did I do last time to make that look bigger? I did something cool. There it is. Okay. All right, here we go. Let me just zoom over to that. Okay. So you guys can see that quick review from yesterday. So we did an introduction, went through the founders, went through the hypotheses. Today we're going to talk about Theorem 1. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but it is interesting. It starts to give you kind of where all the big topics that everybody talks about on FinTwit in general, on CNBC. This is the main theory that kind of defined a lot of the big terms that are out there, right? So I figure it's worth doing a few videos on this. Again, provides context. And remember, we talked about that the transports lead the industrials, and we showed a chart of that yesterday. We talked about the founders, right? Charles Dow in the first, William Peter Hamilton, right? A co-worker, and then carried the idea forward, and then Robert Rhea, who ended up really writing a lot about it, made a fortune off of it, and then wrote more about it, right? So we talked about the different hypotheses, right? We talked about the market is in the short-term basis has manipulation. Manipulation doesn't necessarily mean like the true definition of the word like sinister behavior, but it does mean that institutions can use their big money to make markets and to push it around, right? So we definitely see that with upgrades, downgrades, things like that. And then we see it intraday too, with playing games with our level 2. For the most part, we can see big orders coming through and pushing things. We see it too with call sweeps and put sweeps. We also talked about the averages, discounting everything, right? So meaning for the most part, the market is talks about encompasses everything that everybody knows about the market, right, in one thing, and it prices that all in, right? And then that's why it's really hard, right? That's why this is really hard, right? Because there's not only millions of minds working on this, there's also millions of algorithms too that are out there, right? That are working on it. So you have to think about it. We're competing, and working, with and against, like millions and millions of people and computers. And so that's why we have to find setups that work consistently for us, so we can maximize, right? Otherwise we get lost, and that's why everybody says like, oh, why did that pull against me there? Why did that pull? And because there's all sorts of stuff going on all the time, right? So it's just that you have to look for those setups, look for those patterns that really work for us. So that's a real key thing to take in there. Key takeaway there. And hypothesis 3, the theory is not infallible. It's saying, yeah, it's a great idea, but it's not the in all be all. I like how they say that, right? So Elliott Wave kind of says like it's everything, right? Well, it's everything if you get it right, but you only really know if it's right after the fact, right? So you can get your best guess, and sometimes if you're close to a rule break in Elliott Wave, it works really, really well. But this is just saying, hey, this is a really good idea, and to make sure you still do your due diligence and work really hard. You can use these, to help you, right? But it's not the end all be all, right? Because anything could change. Okay, so really quick. So today, all we're going to do is talk about Theorem 1. There's four theorems of Dow Theory. So Theorem 1, we'll just kind of get into it real quick. This is really easy concept, but it's important to know, right? It's important to know where all this stuff came from. Okay, so there's three movements in the market. Okay, so there's three movements of all the averages, all of which may be in progress at one and the same time. Okay, so kind of think about that, right? So the first, and we'll talk about it at the end. So the first and the most important is the primary trend, the broad upward or downward movements known as bull or bear markets, which may be of several years' duration. Okay? And the second and most deceptive movement is the secondary reaction, an important decline in a primary bull market or a rally in a primary bear market. And these reactions usually last from 3 weeks to as many as months. Okay? So that's really, really interesting. Okay, so this, and then finally third, and usually unimportant, is the movement of the daily fluctuation. Well, if you're a day trader, right, like us, this is important, right, because we want to make cash flow off of daily price movements, right? And the advantage of today, this day and age, is that we have, price action that that we can trade on shorter term time frames that also work. And so that's a good, anyway. But this was done, back in the early 1900s, right? That's kind of that range, right? And Robert Rhea brought it into the 20s and all that stuff. So that being said, right? So here, let's kind of look at this. Let's analyze this. So there's three movements in the averages, all of which may be in progress at one and the same time. What does that mean? Okay, so what does primary trend mean, right? So let's take a look at our chart and just take a look. Okay, so what does primary trend mean? Well, let's go to what do we like to look at? We like to look at the larger term time frame. So this is the daily time frame. So let's go to the monthly or weekly. Let's do the weekly. Okay, so when we kind of pull out, we look. Let's go back to the monthly actually. We look at this and we kind of look at the chart. And we're like, okay, what's it doing? Well, the primary trend of the monthly chart is still up, right? Now it had one of those secondary moves, right? Which is this move here. Right, so that was a kind of your secondary pullback right there, right? And then of course there's daily fluctuations within there. So that's why it's saying all this can go on at the same time. So the primary trend here is still up, right? Never crossed over, right? What is it? I think this was the monthly 50 MA. Never crossed down below the monthly 50 MA, right? So that's a nice, long-term definition of an uptrend, right? So you just follow that moving average, right? Never really did that. But was there a secondary correction here? Yes, absolutely. Was the trend still up? Yes, it was. So it depends on your time frame, right? What you're looking at, how you invest. Or you can go to the quarterly chart, and we look at that with the newsletter subscribers. We definitely go through that, and that's important too. It's actually a big shows a really big context of what's going on right now in the markets, and we look at that in the newsletter a lot more. But here, really, right, the trend is up, right? So the trend is up. But was the secondary trend down? Yes, absolutely, it was down, right? And then what was going on here? Was there still up moves in this big down move? Sure, absolutely. Those are the daily fluctuations. So that's all it's talking about, right? It's saying that all this is going on at the same time. So it's saying there's three movements of the averages, all of which may be in progress at one and the same time. So that makes sense now, right? And the first is the primary trend. So we talked about the primary trend there on the monthly, right? It was going up, right? That's a broad upward movement that we've been seeing over the past, many years, past decade, right? And then the second most deceptive movement is the secondary reaction, an important decline in the primary. Of course, it's deceptive. It's painful, depending what your position sizing is, right? And this is a huge move to the downside, right? That the market really hasn't seen. Right, we're talking, it was up to 29.40 all the way to 23.61, a 600-point down move on the SPX. That's huge move, right? You don't see stuff. I mean, here with this big move back in 2011, so 1360, and that was 300 points. Right? This is double that move, right? So yeah, secondary movements are not fun, right? And they can be very, very painful, right? But it all depends on what your risk threshold is and where you're at, right? I mean, anybody who's long here, I mean, yeah, it hurt a little bit, but I mean, it didn't really do much. It didn't even cross over the 50 MA. It's back up, right? So you just have it all depends on your your context, right, and where you're at. And so we take a look at that, right? So that's your market, right? So where you're at. And the second, right? So that's the second one. We talked about that, and that, how long can that last? This is from 3 weeks to as many as 3 months. Well, let's go back and look at the chart. How many months did this last? 1, 2, 3, right? And then it reversed. 3 months, right? Pretty amazing stuff, right? That's what they're saying. So these secondary moves, right? They can last from 3 weeks to as many months, right? So it's, 3 months, maybe a couple more months if it really wanted to, right? But 3 weeks, 3 months. So those are those secondary pullbacks, right? So you have to look at that in terms of the broader picture. So your broader picture, right, was that the primary trend was upward, right? The second and most deceptive movement is that it's a reaction, right? So using this context, using the Dow Theory as context really helps and kind of see, everybody, here is panicking, right? This is the end of the world, right? And all that stuff. But you kind of look at Dow Theory and it's like, okay, well, what's really going on with this trend? Well, I mean, never even broke the 50, but it touched it. So it touched the main trend line, then it came back up off it, which is actually kind of really pretty generous of it, really, if you think about it. So that the timing of that was just like that, 3 weeks to as many as months, right? So we see that a lot. And then the third unimportant is the daily fluctuation. Well, that really is important to us, right? Because we can make money intraday, and we can we can trade for a living, right? So that's the fun part is trading intraday, day trading. Not everybody here is a day trader, and that's cool, and but for cash flow, it's fun, right? We look for setups, we look for key levels, we look for price action, like this is kind of a nice area right here, a little nasty with that bar there. Right, and nice reversal at the end of the day too. I mean, just little things like that. This bar here, we kind of knew that would go to the downside. I know, a good friend, Option Virus, traded this. He made pretty good money off of that to the downside, right? So we'd like to do that intraday. That's what we do. But in terms of vesting and speculation, which are longer term time frames, right? That's what we look at. We use that Dow Theory to kind of see where we're at, right? So when next time somebody's shouting, like, hey, it's the end of the world, or whatever the case is, the markets are going to zero. We'll just look at the broad trend. What's really happening with that, right? So that's really pretty key. So that's theorem 1, and just kind of wanted to touch on that today. And goodness, I thought I'd only take 5 minutes talking about it, but I think it was pretty key conversation, and hopefully some good takeaways with that. So anyway, we'll continue that with theorem 2 tomorrow, and this stuff does get interesting, right? And there's only 4 theorems, and but it's really, really interesting. It talks about like the size, right? The size of the pullbacks, right? And when to know when you should start being scared. It's like, a lot of people here, I was actually, a lot of Elliott wave theorists were saying that this was the beginning of a new bear market, and maybe it is, maybe it isn't, right? But when you look at Dow Theory too, and you kind of compare it, which has been really strong for a lot of traders, over, many, many decades, right? We can kind of look at that and use it as context and be like, okay, well, if it is a bear market, what do we really need to confirm that? Right? And so you kind of start to see where CNBC comes up with their numbers, 20% declines and all that stuff. We'll get into that a little bit more this week. So anyway, hope you guys find that helpful. At this point, if anybody has any chart requests or questions, please feel free to plug this in the chat window, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. Try to wrap up, before 10:30 if possible, so everybody can get a good night's sleep, and then have another awesome trading day tomorrow. So let's kind of get through there. So good stuff. So Jay, what's going on again? Hello. Alpesh, what's up? Good to see you. Thanks for jumping in. Call Saul, what's up, my friend? How's it going? Prayer Kid, thank you for jumping in. Hope you're doing well. Harvey, greetings. Thank you for jumping in too. Puzbandoob, what's up? How are you? Alpesh, what do we got? So we got CMG was nice and missed the sell. Work that problem. Let's take a look. CMG. Oh, you missed it because you were at work. Yeah. That problem. I understand. So with the market doing its thing today, let's see what we had on CMG. So daily, yeah, nice push to the upside. Look at that, tagged the upper Bollinger Band to the tick. 727, then reversed off. It gave you a shooting, a reversal bar here today. And then let's take a look. Let's see what we got. So we had double inside 60. Did this give us a triple? Not quite, right? Just kind of chopped around here, and then it finally broke those levels, got through the VWAP, so 722 down to 718, right? So, but huge move up too, guys. This is a 60 anchor trade too. I didn't see it yesterday. I don't really trade CMG too much on options, but look at that inside 60 anchor right there to close, break to the upside, 718, and this is hard to find today. This is actually really hard to find today because most of our 60 anchors gapped down, and this showed relative strength clearly, right off the get-go. And look at that. So 718 all the way up to 727. So that was a huge trade right there. So if you're not a newsletter subscriber, when you subscribe, you get a free copy of a draft of my ebook, The Secret to Trading the Open, and we talk a lot about these techniques, give a lot of different examples and things like that. So I've also got a bunch of videos on the YouTube channel too that you're welcome to browse through too. So huge move on CMG. So nice, but I'm sorry you missed that the reversal on that. But good job anyway. So for catching it, for spotting it. So Jay, yeah, let's see what we got. So we got SE. C Limited. Let's see how it looks on the daily. Interesting. So earnings coming up. Earnings are what time? Are they after the close? Yeah, so they're tomorrow after the close. Okay, so really interesting stuff. We had an inside day right here. Look at that. Broke to the downside, right? Right there. Opened right here and then broke. So that was a nice trade right there. So 26.34 went all the way as low as 24.61, which is a pretty big move on this stock. It did give you a hanging man, hammer setup, however it wants to play tomorrow. My guess, I don't know. My guess is probably chop, maybe a little bit of a run into earnings, and then we'll see where it goes. From there, let's take a look. Let's see. So we've been trying this one a little bit. So you had this bull flag right here, break to the upside, been tagging these volumetric levels. And then look at that resistance too. Isn't that neat? 727 was CMG today, and this is 2720. I like fun with numbers. That's one of the cool things about the stock market. There's a lot of cool stuff like that. So anyway, nice reversal there off of volumetric resistance today, and then kind of back down, then came back up again. But again, to me, it seems like earnings. If they're really good, it would get over that 27 level, right? But it kind of reverses. If it's bad, it could get to 2314. Even tag this Fibonacci fan line right here, kind of around 22. So we'll keep an eye on that. So very, very interesting. LB. We got same thing here. On the 22nd, we got earnings. A little bit more boring in terms of stock movement. I mean, it is kind of, in a downtrend. We were tracking it here at one point. Let me remove this. Remove. Let's draw a trend line on this. All right, there's your high. There's your low. Kind of like that. Let's draw a fan line on it. Here. We do whatever. We get this one right here. Look at that. Tags right on that trend line. Perfect. And then, so it's going to come up, test, and then down, or is it going to break through? Hard to tell. But it does have to get through this congestion zone here, which also happens to be volumetric. So if it gets to there, right then it can finally push. So basically, if it breaks over those levels, it gaps up over 28, you might gap and go, and start working its way up to this 33 level. So that could be pretty interesting. Oversold too, by the way, on the daily. And then let's see, CTRP. C-trip. Let's see. So that was a bull flag here. Nice break to the upside. Uh-oh. Gap. Right? Almost looks like a mini bump and run that happened here, right? So this is our bump and run review. So we had gap, run 30 degrees here, 60 degrees, right? Push down, broke through that trend line, and then just kind of did your run. So that's your bump and run right there. So, and did it fill this gap here? It looks like it might have filled that gap here too. So with earnings coming up, could do anything, right? Could continue to push to the downside, or it could get back over the volumetric level. And then Z. And what time was that? Was that today? No, that's 22nd. And then Z. Let's take a look. Good stuff. Nice stuff, Jay. NetFry, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Manoj, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. Parakid, you going long? iRobot. Let's see if we can get the same results like Tesla. Yeah, let's see iRobot. Let's just take a look. iRobot's fun once you catch a move on it. Yeah. I mean, look at that. You're right at these, kind of major sport zone stuff. Look at that, all through there. You got here. So yeah, so you're in a pretty good zone right here. It did break down, below the pitchfork level, but again, a push to the upside still could get up to 96, which is not a horrible move. And then if it could break through the pitchfork, you've got more potential to the upside. So cool reaction lines here. I really like this one, to this reaction zone. I could real quick just draw another one just to see. Let's see. So we got action line here. Why did I do that? Action line here. There. Duplicate. Just see if there's anything going on there. Not too much. But anyway, cool stuff. It's could be good support there. So plus you always nail this stuff, Parakeet, so good stuff. Yeah. The same with Tesla too. Paul, what's going on, man? Good to see you. Session. Hey John. Whoa. Hey, John and everyone, what's up? Hope you traded well today. Yeah, mostly sideline for the most of the day because it's a little bit crazy, but yeah, good stuff. Yeah, let's take a look at your list here. So let's get Cyber, CYBR. Super strong. Except that it's breaking out of that that channel that we had. Other than that, it looks really good. So what it did was it broke through initially, kind of tried to come back in, and now it's failing out of it. And what it gave you today too is a hanging man and that's pretty dangerous. Right, let's see what the earnings look like. I mean, earnings were good, so it's got to get above today's highs to get back in that channel. If not, tail fail to the downside might test that 118 level again. AYX. Yeah, so that nice channel kind of came back up, tested. Looks like it's coming back to test this trend line again. So just watch that 84 level for another bounce. And then S-Bucks. Well, tell me it's like at 100. Okay. Okay, it came back a little bit. This thing's just been so bullish since we were working on it back here, where we caught that Goldman Sachs pullback. And then right here, this is the pullback right here that we caught. And then, I was predicting wave 5 up here. It just keeps on going and going and going. But the big breakdown today on Starbucks. So keep an eye on there. We have this sort of downward trend line that served as support, right? So it's downward trend line that served eventually as support. So that would be an interesting place to go along if it could get down there, like around 71. Could be a good area. And then WWE. Oh yeah. Interesting. And so this one didn't actually hit. Its December area was actually sort of like a higher low, right, on WD. So very, very strong. Came back. Keep on testing this channel. You can see how strong this channel is. Got back to 100 and then boom, right out of it. And then it gave you a bear flag and then back down. Another bear flag and back down. So here it is at the 50% retrace of its prior all-time high, and then that November low, and sort of right here. So see how well it holds this level. It might undershoot it a little bit. Might even test at 38.2, but eventually I think it's going to get some strength again. So it should be interesting. And then K. Kellogg. Super chop zone. Tough stock to trade to begin with. It really is. But if you like, kind of slower moving ones, this is it is in a zone right here. It's got, look at that, all this congestion here, back in it, right? So really, really tough to trade. Really tough to see, kind of what it's doing. It's a little bit of a triangle going on here, right? So you could see something like that. This could be maybe like, I don't know, A, kind of B triangle. I don't know. It might work on a C down. It's hard to really tell. Really hard to tell at Kellogg. But Paul would be the one to tweet on that one. SMDC4S, what's going on? How are you? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in, sir. Appreciate it. Good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. And hope your trading's going good, too. And everything else. Sarah, what's going on? Good to see you. How are you? Shirley, welcome. Ayaz, how's it going? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Call Saul, what's up? Let's take a look. So we got Beyond Comprehension. I like what did Citron say? He said like Beyond stupid. It'd be fun to have a shorting company like he's got. But anyway, so that's the one thing I like about these IPOs, right, is they give great candles and they give good Elliott wave stuff too, right? So we had this wave 1 up, 2, possibly working on 3. It still could be working on 3. Right? This is just a 50% retrace of this area. So it just means the trend line is going to change. But here, right, you had spinning top, almost like a little bit of a hammer. But look for what I liked about this shooting star pattern right here is that it got nice follow through to the downside. A little bit of a stair step down, but here's your hammer that got a little bit to the upside. So I don't know. I'd give it some time in and just see if we can get constructive. Right, this could be a reversal bar off of this kind of wave. Minor wave 2 down. It is kind of comparing with these levels here. Right, and it stayed above it, so that is something to keep in mind. So it might be a potential reversal play to the upside. Still somewhat bullish on it. And then what else? Almost lost you there. Okay, and Tesla. Wow, nice reversal bar today on volume, and closed below the lower Bollinger Band, and RSI is oversold. This is a reversal waiting to happen, right? So really, really strong setup there. I just want to look at the weekly, see if that looks interesting at all. Hammer week so far, obviously, but yeah, this is very, very interesting. A break over today's highs could be, could definitely, work on that gap fill right there. But if anything, could start reclaiming these ranges, start filling some other gaps. I like that reversal bar on some volume. So it looks so far so good, and it's under the Bollinger Band, and RSI is overbought. So I'm not saying it's going to do it all tomorrow, but it might not be a bad one to look at a potential reversal. In fact, I'm going to add that to the bullish watch list. Nice one. Okay, let's take a look. Goog, the Goog. I'm gonna do Google if you don't mind. Just because it's the Class A and usually gets a little more option activity, but Goog is the one where all the insider trading goes on. So yeah, good old Google. At this point, right? So I got Huawei, and but it is on its 200 moving average, so that is something to say. We'll see if this turns into a hammer or a hanging man. If it turns into a hanging man, again, I could retest these lows. It's 1122, and then you got your fib fan line right here, sort of corresponding with your Bollinger Band and some volumetric levels, so around 1100. Could still try there. Again, if it gets over today's highs and you start working on this gap fill, and then got to get through the cloud, and then hopefully eventually do that cloud break, and then start filling the gap up there. So time-wise, hard to tell on it right now. So, but definitely worth watching. So good stuff, Call Saul. Thanks, man. Paul, what's going on? All right, so let's see. So we got Bank of America. I know you like trading this one, so let's take a look. Inside day with a doji. Goodness gracious. Amazing setup right there. So this is this could do anything. I mean, depending where it opens tomorrow. So break to the upside could be strong. Start to work through the 200-day moving average. Break out of the cloud. That would be great. If not, break to the downside. Could test that 28 level on it. Just looking at the daily chart alone is interesting. I like that inside doji. Very, very rare. Right? You don't see too many just pure dojis on anything. So that just shows a lot of indecision, and it's an inside day. Right? So eventually it's going to break one way or another, and it's probably going to do it with a little bit of force. So I like that. Let me know keep an eye on that one. Keep tweeting it. Yeah, what's going on? Can I look at the NDX? So do you mean Fernando? What's up? So you mean like the NDX, like the Nasdaq, or like NADA? Like, let me just look. So okay, so just let me see how this pulls up. The Nasdaq 100. Yeah. Okay, cool. Oh, nice. Thank you for this. Can you trade options on the NDX? Maybe. Is there any volume? Wow, no volume on it. Everybody trades SPX, huh? Interesting. So cool. So anyway, here's where we're at, right? So a little bit more severe, right, in its chart setup than the SPX was. SPX was like a green southern doji. This is like a green momentum shooting star pattern right here, and that's what we got. So that right there was projecting a potential downside move. Got that, kind of gapped right down into the cloud. So I would say let's look for a break here of this 2411. Right, and then might see some upside move on that one. So pretty good. Obviously, if it continues to break down, it could get ugly, right? So, but we'll see. So right now, futures are looking okay. So we'll see on that. So cool. Thanks for joining in, Fernando. Good to see you, man. Regina, what's going on? Baba, AMAC, Cron, and MMM. Yep, let's see. So Baba, gosh, I didn't even look at this one today, but I saw a tweet on it earlier. It looks like it got just demolished. Let me see. Yeah. Oh. Just rough. So yeah, not doing good. Let's take a look, see what I've got going on here. I think I had like a larger term channel. Let's see what we have. Yeah, so that was this kind of prior bull flag ingestion zone. Some notes right here. Action reaction line was what we got right here. So let's just kind of look at that, see where we're at. So here's your main pivot line. Here's an action line right between two kind of big pivots way back in the day. We project that forward and see what we get. And so from here, we might start to see some consolidation if it holds that reaction line. Then it could come back, start testing that bull flag kind of zone. If not, could get ugly. Right? It could really start. Could actually follow this reaction line down and eventually hit this pitchfork line. So we got to see what else is in store with this. But yeah, that was a really nasty day for Baba. And then AMAT. Let's see. Wow, AMAT looks like almost like a. Let me see what it looks like on the candlesticks. So this was your upward trend line that we were tracking, and then it broke down below it, tested it, and came back down. It was, pretty common pattern on trend lines. But if we go here, look at that. That is a, if you consider this like a mini uptrend, then what we have here is, pretty much a evening star reversal, right? So you have this, not a huge, it should be a nice big green bar, but still a green bar, gap up, real body over this real body. Gap was closed here, and then it pushed, more than 50% of the range here, and even 50% of prior day's range. So if it wants some continuation to the downside, it could get pretty nasty as it breaks down through the cloud. So just keep that in mind. Little evening star reversal on that one. Kronos. Always sounds like Thanos, right? But anyway, so we've got these huge range days on this after earnings. Now it's just been kind of like really, really choppy, right? So here it just kind of looks like a triangle kind of forming. It looks like kind of broke down a little bit out of that triangle. Right, so here's kind of this thing going on, kind of this thing going on. Okay, clicky. There we go. There. Right. So sort of working through this area. If it could break above it and get below this, get above this this fib fan line, it could start to work its way up to that 17 level. If not, might just keep chopping or kind of work its way down a little bit. Triple M. So this is on the game plan last night as something to watch short. I mean, this thing is just getting demolished. I mean, it's just getting demolished. And so let's just see how that looked today. From the open. 15 order possible. A bunch of inside stuff. 5 minute. Let's see, the majority of the moves right near the open. Let's see if it was possible. Oh, really, really tough with a big bar like that at the open. And they're just dumping this thing as soon as the market, as much as they can. Dump, dump, dump. Eventually it's going to find some, it's going to, get some capitulation and give you like an area, to finally go long in this thing. But let's see. So this is your area right here. So that 161. I would consider, I'll put an alert there. I would consider going long there, maybe. But the only thing I can imagine that would happen there is volumetric support. Only thing I can imagine really happening here for a little bit, just after this huge down move, is getting some consolidation here if it does. And then, who knows how long it could go. It could go wait till earnings, and they could be like, okay, we've recovered, a lot of our losses, blah, blah, blah. And then it starts to work its way back up. So, but just a cascade down movement, basically. I was just, pretty awful on that one. So very interesting to see there. So, but tough to trade, right? Because it just opened and just puked right at the open, right? Really, really tough. So anyway, Merit forever. What's going on? Tilray. And then we looked at Beyond already, so TLRY. Off. Merit, it's just been kind of hanging around these levels. It's really, really tough to trade. Personally, hands off for me. It's just, it could drift lower. It's, there's a couple times where, I tried like a straddle on it, and I think somewhere where it was like a double inside day, I tried a straddle, and it was like, it worked, and it moved like, a bunch, and then it was just like, the bids just never moved, and it was just like, man, these spreads are horrible. So I'm kind of like a hands off on this one, but yeah, it looks like it's kind of drifting a little bit. But you never know what kind of news these kind of goofy stocks can come up with. So, but it is below sort of this RSI downward trend line. So to me, it seems like it's still kind of like going to drift its way down. So, Alpesh, what's going on? Yep, ZS. Let's take a look. think we talked about yesterday or a couple days ago, and so we had this upward trend line. I said like, hey, we're a little extended, might kind of come back and retest these zones, and so here we are. It's kind of coming back and looking like it wants to retest these zones, right? So I don't know, maybe a little consolidation day tomorrow or something like that, and then a little bit of a pullback into these areas. Once it touches this trend line, I would say look to go long, but again, that could be by the end of the month when earnings comes, right? So hard to trade into that. No problem, Jay. My pleasure. Tune Fed. What's going on, Doug? Can you take a look at Z? Cheers. Yeah, I think we looked at this a little bit earlier, but I will pull this up here one more time. So we're in this volumetric zone, right? Tested this volumetric level, got above, a prior resistance zone, so it's above resistance, but we have this kind of upward trend line we're looking at. Getting to a little bit overbought area. Look what happened last time it was overbought. Came back off of it, but it was not as pronounced, right? So I would still expect maybe like a little bit of a pullback and then maybe up off of that trend line there in the future. Uzi, what's going on? Hope you had a good day too. CMG. We looked at it a little bit in the beginning, but we'll just pull it up again. And I just kind of want to reiterate how interesting it is, right? So we had this inverted head and shoulders, tried to break to the upside. And just remember, guys, when a pattern fails, chances are it's going to go the other way, right? So that's just something to keep in mind. But let's take a look at that candlestick chart too. It's just beautiful, right? So look where it did. It reversed right off of the upper Bollinger Band today and then gave you a nice shooting start. So not saying go short it, but it does. Let's say if we do like a recent trend line, that this is not really a trend line. That's part of that invert head and shoulder example drawing. But if we take this bar to this bar, you kind of see this. I mean, it's not that far away from it. If anything, it might kind of not worth trading on options. $2 on CMD doesn't really do much on the options, right? So just keep that in mind. But if it does break below this level, right, and then give you a confirmation bar, then it could work its way back down to the cloud here at like the Well, it gives 700 a possibility, right? That's your mid-Bollinger Band. Then after that, ugh, could get weird. So we'll see. Possible consolidation, maybe retag the trend line and then back up. So because the Head and Shoulders not quite invalidated yet, but tag that upper Bollinger Band and reversed. It's pretty interesting. That's right. Exactly. So tried to break out today. That was your neckline right here, and then pushed and came back in. So tough market to do it in, but this thing's just been so amazingly strong. So yeah, but good stuff. Nice stuff, Alpesh. IS, TTD, yes, your favorite. Let's take a look, see how it's doing. Always funny to imagine a big move in stock like this only being up 15 cents. But pretty decent move today actually. So I like this spinning top here, and I like a potential cloud breakout on it. So 198. Potential push here to the upside, maybe 209, 208. So that's pretty interesting. Possible 10-point move in the cards. Inside 60 anchor. Yeah, decent move up, pull back. Kind of working its way back up. Yeah, very, very, very possible. I mean, good move. You caught the bottom today, right? So you got through this. Right, nice break. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm seeing. This is, remember we looked at this one here for the diamond, continuation pattern. Actually, it ended up being, it's kind of a key zone here, right? So just keep that in mind. That middle of that diamond was congestion zone, and we're in that. So it needs to break over basically today's high, and then could work its way up. So very, very cool. NetFry, you're into Bank of America today, but stop hit with. Oh, I know. I can't trade Bank of America, guys. Like it's one of those ones like GM and Ford and Bank of America and the smaller banks like Wells Fargo. You trade those, and it's like 2-cent stop out, just like. Ugh. Because you got to have like 10,000 shares, right, to make money on it. And it's like then you're watching every penny. And it's just frustrating. That's why I like options on high beta names, right? So anyway, good stuff. So Sindor, what's going on? AVGO. Yeah. Wow, this is funny. This is there's that gap right there that kind of went into. This is one I tweeted out, not too long ago, and just kind of looking at the weekly chart. Some folks were getting bullish on it, and I was like, just be careful. I know it's hitting its 50 daily moving average, but you can't swing anything until you look at the weekly charts, right? And so I think we were looking here. We're looking at this kind of spinning top type stuff. Last week, momentum shooting start, and then just gap down. Today, just blah. Right to volumetric support. So we'll see how well it holds that level. You can see that's kind of where the gap was, through those earnings. So I just kind of have that highlighted there. But see if it holds this. It's got a fib fan line. It's got volumetric support. Could potentially work its way up. Earnings, in June. So we'll see. But yeah, just big gap down today on volume. So it needs to get constructive really, really quickly to see if it wants to go anywhere. So yeah, it's kind of how I'm seeing it right now. A little bit oversold here on the daily, so maybe if it can get above today's highs, it can start working its way up. Watch out for the median line of the pitchfork, which it gapped below. Really, really scary stuff. So that's that one. Light, LITE. Seems to go in tandem with Apple, right? But this one's really, really getting pretty weak here. Look at that. Just look at that. That's a cascade down move right there. Just nasty after these earnings. Goodness gracious. And they weren't even that bad. So see how it holds this level, this 42 level. You got volumetric support there. If that doesn't hold, if it's like kind of long-term goofy trend line, then it, that could be your next level there, like 40. But yeah, just gap, just nasty. So this actually, it might get some more continuation move to the downside. I'm actually gonna put it on the short list here if the market's weak tomorrow. So nice one. That's good enough to get my attention. Now I don't like, it's a little bit of FOMO, right? Because you already missed all this stuff, but it just looks like it's in this free fall. So it could be interesting. Nice chart. CMG we looked at, cost, QCOM and Tesla. I think we looked at Tesla too, but it looks like it cost. Yeah, we talked about this one. It's just kind of doing its thing up here until earnings, I guess. It's just kind of this ascending triangle. Pretty boring, right? Big gap up from last earnings. Push, broke through, which is great. These are fun trades right here. Those big gap moves and then getting through, clearing those highs. So that Costco is one that that likes to do that. Oh yeah, this is a megaphone that we were looking at. So megaphone, kind of thing going on. It's at the upper end of the range. It could kind of go back down. We have an upward trend line right here. So if it did go down, possibly 244 area, something like that. But we got earnings coming up pretty soon at the end of the month. So we could get a little bit of an earnings run. I just don't want to buy up here at the top of a megaphone. It's really tough to do that. So, and then let's see. QCOM, and then yeah, we take another quick peek. Look at Tesla. Yeah, QCOM, just all these telecom companies after this Huawei thing are just getting destroyed. So just keep that in mind. Just be careful there. Look at that RSI is already kind of in the middle of this range. Pitchforks right here. I mean, that could look pretty. That could get pretty ugly. Never broke that bull flag. No confirmation. Right. One break, no confirmation. Right. So always be careful of that. And then Tesla, let's just take one more peek. We'll look at the bar chart. Last time I think we looked at the candlestick, but big reversal today. Heavy volume on a big reversal candle. Right, we'll see if they can hold. If today's tail fail, it could still go to the downside. But big lots of buyers stepped up today, lots of volume. So something to keep in mind with that going into tomorrow. And there you go. Yeah, cool. Good chart, Sindor. Fernando, yeah, no problem. Thank you. Yeah, how about Yeti? Yeah, let's take a look at Yeti. Yeti is kind of, it's being held up by some Fibonacci fan support here, so see if it can hold that. Over today's highs, you might start getting a push back to this volumetric level around 29, but if it breaks down, gets below today's lows, it might slowly work its way to fill this gap right here. So just keep that in mind. All right, draw a little gap window, little gap circle there. There you go. This is something to keep an eye on, where the open gap is. Cool. Nice chart. Good stuff. Shirley, what's going on? Everybody who doesn't know Shirley, she posts all these great charts, great levels, and some of them are penny stocks, but a lot of them, she's had, I think, a penny stock go from $1 to 100 or something like that before. So these are always great and fun to go through. So we'll try to get through as many as we can here, Shirley. I'll probably only hit 4 or 5 of them. But let's take a look at carb, which reminds me of my dinner tonight, pizza, I think. So, but anyway, it's like I'm running a marathon tomorrow or something. But cool, I like this. Yeah, I like how it kind of got over volumetric levels. Had a big earnings gap. Kind of filled it and just kind of drifted back down. It's kind of working its way back up now. So that does look constructive, surely. I don't really have, I don't think I see any sort of trend line here. In fact, if anything, let's move down. Let's do a fib fan from here to here and just see. Yeah, it got over those levels. It could work its way back up. I think your levels look pretty good. Geo. That's such a good ticker. You'd think they'd be more famous, right? But here we go. So Shirley, just got to break through that volumetric level. Just got to get above that 22.25. Other than that, it's sort of like a uptrendish type stuff going on here. But yeah, I'd like to see it get above that for you. What else? You guys, yeah, I'll take a look at you guys. RHC, yeah. Let's see how that's doing. I don't know if LMP is in the room, but he loves trading this stuff. Let's see. He loves the triple ETF stuff. So sure, this is really tough to get an eye on here. Lots of gaps. If anything, recent trend is kind of. Yeah, so these 3 X's are so hard to chart. But let's see. So you had this. Kind of recent, yeah. Just be careful of that. Kind of going into it, right? So that's the one thing you got to watch out for. Kind of downward trend line here. It's tagging it. Might come back off of it to the downside. So I would be very, very careful of that, especially going into the summer with you guys. That's all I've got to say about that. RHT. Is that natural gas? I'm not sure. Anyway, just be careful with that downward trend line. Red Hat. I wouldn't even touch this, Shirley. This is a buyout from IBM back here. And it's just been kind of drifting, right? I won't even touch this thing. It's one of those buyout things. This is what we were talking about the other day, right? With that one you showed me the other day. This is what they do. Not even worth it. So just be careful of that. AEP. American Electric, nice. So yeah, we've been looking at this one. So kind of working its way up this channel here, and just be careful, right? Just be careful when it tags the top of the channel. If it doesn't break out, right? Channels like to test both ends of the channel while it's still in it. Until it breaks out of the channel, right? That's your trend. So just be careful with that. And then I'm going to... I'll skip over those last 2 ones, but I'll do dry real quick. DRY. I'm sorry, DRI. Darden has been great. This is something that we're looking at here. This is really tough to trade unless you got started to trade with options. But like you said, like with common share, I mean, here it had this nice pennant set up right here after this gap, and then that broke to the upside, retested back up. So yeah, this looks pretty bullish. So just be careful again. The top of the channel there around 127. So good stuff, Shirley. Thanks for all your stuff. Hey, good night, Jamie. What do we got? UNH. UNH. And by the way, I don't think Andrew's on tonight, but great job, Andrew. If you rewatch this one on your healthcare prediction, he tweeted me this week and was like, healthcare looks strong and UNH and all and stuff like that. And so yeah, big moves today. Just be careful here. It was a pitchfork, a little bit longer term pitchfork that we were tracking here. How it held this median line, then these levels here. So it's trying to get back in there. If it can't get back in there, it might come back out and retest this downward trend line, then try again. So that's the only thing you got to watch out for here. So yeah, but big move today. Healthcare had some big moves today. While we're at it, let's just take a look at WBA. I did say it might start doing something around May 22nd, which is this cycle bracket, and nothing yet. So 2 more days, though. Let's keep an eye on it. So good stuff. Awesome, everybody. Well, thank you for tuning in tonight. I hope you guys learned a little bit more about Dow Theory, and thank you again for all the great chart requests and participation. And be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Check us out on Twitter if you're only following us on YouTube. And then definitely check out the newsletter. It's an awesome deal. You get a weekly newsletter, which is just chock full of great technical ideas for the week, and good stuff. And it also comes with for now a free Twitter stream that you get access to the private Twitter where you get to see my trades during the day if I take one. So good stuff. Well, have a great night, everyone. Thank you to all subscribers, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Remember, you're risk first, and stay safe so you can stay in the game. And I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.